the Broadcasting Standards Authority put out a report because they've got to do something with their time, and they wanted to explore public expectations around news content and factors that may help improve trust in the news media. And there's two interesting things that they found. Firstly, they found that basically the older generation are still watching television and are going to news websites, and so that's that circle out the right. But the circle on the left is the young generation who are going to social media primarily for their news. And even the 25 to 34 age group, even the 35 to 44, very strong numbers going to social media for their news. But this is the other very interesting graph. So this is how often they look for news. And you'll see that the younger generation, the 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, those red figures, they're looking several times a day. That's a very small proportion. There's a bigger proportion looking daily, but some of them are only going a couple of times a week, weekly or less, or they really even listen. Up to 10% of our 18 to 24-year-olds and 25 to 34, which, Mel, comes back to your point, because I think you were the one that made the point earlier on that the politicians in Parliament can get up to whatever they want, but half of our younger voters either don't care or they're not even watching. And so that really affects it, doesn't it? That's why I reckon there's that hardcore constituency that you're never going to budge. What do you think, Mel?
With this question, I actually reached out on our family chat. I thought, well, I won't talk for, my kids and all the rest of it. I will get their opinion. Then I didn't have to do so much research. So here is what our family chat came up with. These are all between 20 and 30 years of age. So number one, it's easier to access and quicker to get information. 2, because social media to younger people is more appealing, as opposed to something played on TV every night at 6 p.m. during dinner. 3, watching the news is boring. 4, more exciting and entertaining online. 5, convenient because you can find what topic you want to look at. And then 2 of my children came up with social media is too accessible. It does matter if people are using this as their source of news, because it is not moderated. This misinformation is making people crazy.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay. Look, just in case you didn't realise it, Rodney is not playing Frozen or whatever that statues. The power's gone out in Queenstown. So, he's just going to sit there looking as animated as the rock face behind him. So we'll see if the power comes back on. Anyway, Michael, what's your thoughts? I mean, is it a concern that our younger generations and even our younger millennials, going up to 35-year-olds, they're not looking at the media that much? And when they do look at the media, they're going to social media rather than legacy media. I mean, there could be some positives there, of course.
Yeah, Bob, we've got to look at this as a generational thing. I mean, all of us here were brought up on the 6 o'clock news or 6:30 with Dougal Stevenson and Bill Toft and Philip Sherry. And, it's just sort of part of our DNA and heritage, and that's who we are. But younger generations, that's not the case. They've been brought up with digital media. I remember some graffiti years ago scrawled on a building that said apathy rules, and somebody came and wrote underneath it, who cares? And I think that's probably, where a lot of our young people are at. If they want to access it, they will, and they will use the technology that they're thoroughly familiar with. And they're just simply completely disinterested and disengaged from mainstream legacy media. So I'm not surprised by this at all, Bob. There might be 1 or 2 surprises there, but it's just confirming a trend that we've all known for a very long time. And that trend will continue. That trend will continue because our media, our legacy media, is not to be trusted. It is not fair. It is not balanced. It is not objective. It's not looking for both sides in any attempt at impartiality. We have young journalists that are trained in activism and Marxism rather than old school journalism at a polytech where you learn shorthand and you get out there and you grab the stories from the people That's just not the case now. So I'm not at all surprised by this. I think this trend will continue, and actually I'll be happy for it to continue. I would love to see, Bob, the end of RNZ and the end of TVNZ, and it would save us many, many millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I do find it ironic when the legacy media goes on about misinformation and disinformation on social media, and yet they've just been busted themselves for the same thing. Simon, do you think it's a problem that twofold. One, that our younger generations aren't engaging with news as often, and secondly, when they do, they go looking for it on social media. Is that a problem?
I'm just trying to work out what Michael's position is. He's quite ambiguous. No.
I'll talk to you later, Simon. I'll talk to you later.
And the second thing is, I'm just feeling very relieved that Rodney froze at a good shot. There could have been a whole lot worse. Look, it's two sides of the same coin. At one level, I think it's great that people are finding alternative media and social media to find the news for the reasons that Michael and Mel have just touched on. In general, and we touched at the start, you can't trust mainstream media. And I'm saddened to say that, because there was a time that you had a relative level of trust. And we've talked about the BBC earlier, but they're symbolic of mainstream media in general, including here in New Zealand. You cannot trust them. And basically, media here in New Zealand are projecting their own issues. In other words, when they talk about misinformation and disinformation, they're really talking about themselves. They blame others. So I think it's great that the young people are finding alternatives, actually including the show like tonight and other programs that we run. But the flip side to that coin, and it picks up, actually, Mel, the comments you made at the end from, I think, two of your children. Who do you trust? How do you know who to trust? And there's an enormous amount of problematic, information out there. And I suppose if I could, Bob, and it as an encouragement to people, you just need to read widely. If you're on X or Facebook and you see a sensational headline about something, take a deep breath, go and look elsewhere, verify it. It doesn't take too long, because we do know the TikTok generation rely on headlines. They don't go into the substance. And it's as much now a comment to the younger generation as the older ones. If something is too sensational, take a pause. And you can actually reach out through a variety of social media and alternative media to verify if it's wrong or not. But overall, I think it's a good thing. I think it'll see the renewal of media in general, which will probably require the end of legacy media as we know it today.
Yep. I mean, just credit to our producer, Gordon Clark, who's made us into a lovely four now. So we're kind of the Brady bunch, but half the kids have left home. So that's lovely. Thank you, Gordon. The amazing thing is that people are going to social media, and my recommendation is always, when you see a story, it seems like quite a grand story, double check it, go and check a couple of sources. I don't know how many times I've been told that Steve Irwin's son refused to wear an LGBT jersey, or that Adam Sandler made some derogatory comment about some issue. Always check it. I always find there's some websites working really hard on social media deliberately just to make up stories. So, use wisdom